world this would be. Venite all'agile barchetta mia, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia.
Hello, friends. I'm Mario Lanza, and here to help present the Christopher program. Here is Father Keller, the founder of the Christophers.
Good to have you, Mario. You're wonderful to be with us. And I and all the audience want to hear you sing that song in full.
Well,
Would
thank you. Thank you, Father, surely.
Thank you.
Mare lucida, l'astro d'argento, placida e lonta, prosper il vento, sul mare luccica, l'astro d'argento, placida e lonta, prosper il vento. Venite all'agile barchetta mia, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia. Venite all'agile barchetta mia, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia.
God bless you. Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you, Father.
But now I'm sure we'd all like to have a little visit with you to hear how you started to be a singer, Mario.
I'm all ready to tell you about it.
All right. Please come over with me if you
Thank
will.
you.
Mario, come over here and tell us in a few brief sentences how you ever started to be a singer. I've heard a little bit about it, but I don't know the full story, and I'm sure all of our audience would love to hear it. How you ever got your start.
In a few brief sentences.
Well, no, not too brief now.
Father, actually, it's a very unusual story and unique in that when I did start, an odd thing happened. I was an altar boy in church, and when I had free moments, I used to go out and sit in the church and look at the altar, look at the little red light above the altar with the flame flickering, and I used to be fascinated by the flame and get lost in thought. And in that, let's say, being lost in thought, I had great visions of what was to come in the future. And the odd part of all that I spoke about is that I saw my career happen long before it actually did.
How old were you at the time?
All of 9.
All of 9?
That was when I was an altar boy.
This
was in South Philadelphia, Father, and I was an altar boy in St. Mary Magdalene de Pazzi Church, which was, as I understand, the first Catholic church in Philadelphia. And I lived only, maybe 75 yards away from the church. So at 9 years of age, I became an altar boy there, and these visions, as I spoke about earlier, took place. I used to love to be alone in the church and watch the altar, and the quiet, that's the thing. The quiet in the church affected me so much, and I'd watch this little flame flickering over the altar, and there is where I had my imagination, let's say, that's where it spun. And in those moments in church, I saw the entire career take place. And this, I said before, is unusual because in speaking to so many other successful opera singers or just any performer in show business, I found that no one had quite, let's say, realized the entire career before it actually happened,
right,
except myself.
Yeah, a lot of people dream, but they never get there.
Well, a dream is one thing, exactly.
Yeah.
But in my case, my goodness, I actually went through the whole career before it actually happened. And the great thing about my experience in church was this, that I felt at that moment that I had a message or a job to do, let's put it that way, down to basic facts. My job was to bring, as an obligation to the public, since I was simply and wholly the keeper of a gift, right? My job was to bring, let's say, greater beauty
Wonderful.
to the world in my own little way, since we all have a job to do. In my way, a little bit of beauty and contentment. That was my job. And I realized it at that very, very early age.
Well, that's wonderful.
In church.
That's very good. You felt you could be a transmitter of a bit of God's beauty. He'd given you a voice, and you wanted to use it.
Yes. And by the way, may I add again, please, Father, I feel that we who have been given voices, and certainly it's easily recognizable, we are purely and solely and wholly the keepers of a gift. Is that the way to put it?
That's very good.
A keeper of a voice. We have to guide it in our obligation to the public. It belongs to them. That is our obligation. God lets you know in his wonderful way that you owe that voice to the public. Those who derive joy, excitement, and as we discussed earlier before we got on the camera, or before the camera, beauty. Those who derive beauty from it, before that happens, well, you've got to realize first that it is a gift, and purely and wholly a gift from God.
Yes, that's wonderful.
I knew that as a boy.
Well, what you mentioned there is so important because the more young people realize that God has given them some gift, even if it's not a voice, it's something He's given them to transmit to the world.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And each time that you step onto the stage and you feel, first of all, it's an odd thing, you feel the boards, the stage boards below your feet, and you begin to sing to people. Let's say that's the point where you feel solid. And from that point on, you're so excited about giving them the very best. And that's the way it is in each and every concert that I do. It's an exciting thing, and honestly, it's amazing that each and every time that we do go out on the stage, I say we, I mean the accompanist and my wife and my wonderful children, my mother and father, everybody who takes a part in this career. I feel that it's such an exciting thing. It's a thing that brings so much beauty to those who, at the moment, love what they're experiencing.
That's right.
And in its way, isn't it true that it is beautiful?
It
that
is.
moment of excitement.
And the world needs beauty.
You need to get away sometimes from reality to the world of illusion.
Well, there's so many people emphasize the ugly who could emphasize the beautiful.
Well, may I say I'm very happy that I'm part of something that emphasizes the beautiful part rather than the ugly part. It's a lot of fun, it really is.
Mario, before I forget it, I wish you would tell our audience what you told me about your mother and father. I think it's a very inspiring thing.
First of all, Father, actually, I'm an only child. And this in itself brought me very, very close to Mom and Pop, if I may call them that.
Sure.
And it's astounding to me when I review the past, how many sacrifices my mother and father made. And sacrifices, really, that were tremendous sacrifices. For instance, my mother, when she did not have to go to work, when I was, let's say, 16 years of age, my mother realized that at that time I needed all these lessons so badly to lay the foundation for a career in the future. She went and worked in the Quartermaster's Depot in South Philadelphia, which the Quartermaster's Depot made made uniforms for the American soldiers. At that time, we never knew a war was coming, but in its way, this was its function. She worked very hard. She used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and be at work by 6. Imagine that. And come home at 6 in the evening. Long, long hours, you see. And then what would happen? She'd criticize my father's cooking. She had left my father in charge of the cooking all day long, you know, and she'd say, "Now, Tony, that is not right. That gravy is just not quite right, you see." This was my wonderful, wonderful experience for about 6 years. Really. I was 14 years of age when Mom started working at the quartermaster's depot.
Mention about your father.
Oh, yes, we're coming. Oh, this is a great man. So, in my eyes, he
his
really
handicap.
Yes, I will.
Please don't forget that.
Oh, no.
Because I admire him so much as well as your mother.
Yes, he deserves admiration because he's truly a wonderful man. My mother would come home and say, "Tony, I certainly would have done it this way, not the way you did it, you know." And he'd always say, "But Mary, I did everything you taught me to do, you know." Anyway, Mom was never satisfied, but that's only through here. In her heart, she really was satisfied with the way my father cooked. But getting back to my father was a great World War I hero. My father actually was the first man to capture what in those days they called a Boche prisoner in the Battle of the Aragon Forest. Boche meaning a German prisoner at that time. And in the process of capturing this prisoner, he was wounded, and wounded for life, meaning 100% disability, you know. He was stabbed in the back, gassed, and also had one hand torn off completely by a, they used to call it in those days a dum-dum bullet, you know. So now my mother, who loved him dearly, married him, and with his handicap. And so therefore you can very well see how Pop had to take care of Freddie. They used to call me Freddie. They never called me Mario. And in the process of taking care of me, that's how all these arguments that I told you about the food, you know, used to result in. But mainly, Pop was unable, as you know, to earn a living other than my own father's disability pension, which he used to receive, which was 100% disability, which, as you know, before you receive that kind of a pension, you have to really be broken up, as you know. So,
well, your mother came to the rescue.
My mother came to the rescue.
She's responsible for you being a singer with your father.
She is with my father.
You know what you're going to do? You're going to sing another song for us.
Well, lo and behold, I'm all ready to. Certainly, it's my pleasure.
While you're getting ready for it, I'm going to just go to the audience for a moment and tell them a little of what you said, reminded me of being a transmitter of beauty. Friends, every single one of us can be a transmitter of beauty. God has given each one of us a talent. We may not be able to sing like Mr. Lanza does, but everyone, no matter who the person is, God has put a bit of his power, his goodness, his truth, his beauty into our hands. And if we only apply it to the world in which we live, do something, whatever it may be, to make this world better for your being in it. And now, let us all listen to Mr. Mario.